So today I just wanted to go around to all my tanks and kind of show you what it is that I feed all my animals. So I hope you enjoy. So currently in Zaz's bowl is a mixture of kale and butternut squash. I know you're not supposed to feed them kale really because it binds calcium just like spinach does, but she goes through her phases where she won't eat anything but kale, and then in about a week or two she'll go back to eating mustard greens and collard greens, and that's basically all the greens she'll eat. But right now she has a mixture of kale, butternut squash, and dragon bites in her bowl, and these are just little treats that kind of help her get in the appetite to eat her salad. As far as bugs, she'll eat hornworms, superworms, wax worms, crickets, dubia roaches, and that's about it, I think. So what I do is I buy these cups, and the worms in them are all different sizes, and I just kind of feed her off the biggest ones first, and then give the other ones time to grow, but these things grow really fast. Dexter's food's a little more tricky. He does occasionally get crickets and wax worms as well. Crested geckos mostly eat these mixed foods. I use Pangea. He likes this one. This one's always a hit or miss. But this is his favorite. I tried using the Repashy in the jar, and he would not eat that. He starved himself for a week while I waited for this to be shipped to me. Luckily, my locally owned feeder store sells these now, so that's fantastic. But yeah, he eats the Pangea fruit mix, this red bag. So what you do, I always use these old soda lids or milk lids or water lids or whatever. I just rinse them out. And I have this little measuring scoop. I just take a scoop of this and I put it in the jar and make a mess, I guess. And then I mix it with pre-treated water. This water is treated with Reptiles. And I just spray that in there and continue to make a mess. I'm trying to look through the viewfinder while I make this, and it's not working. And then you mix that. All crested geckos are different. Mine likes his food to be this kind of thick consistency. So I just put enough water in there to make it like that. And I just kind of stick this lid into the little cups because we drink soda and we drink water, so it's just so much easier to reuse the lids and then have to buy fewer of these than having to buy these all the time. And Dexter's tank is a disaster right now, but I am actually going to try to plant his tank this weekend. So I'm super excited to get him some real plants in there and make him more happy in his habitat. And then there's Percy. We can't forget about Mrs. Percy. Her food consists of a lot of the same things that Zaz's food consists of. She eats the mealworms, she eats wax worms, crickets. I have fed her a small dubia roach and a small hornworm, but those aren't really things that I feed her. Mostly just the mealworms, crickets, and wax worms. You don't want to feed them too many wax worms because it will make them overweight, which I know that's not a lot coming from me because she is a pretty chunky leopard gecko. You also want to make sure to take those beetles out as soon as you see them for the same reason that you want to take out any leftover crickets in the tank. You just don't want the bugs nipping at your leopard gecko's tail. It's very important to dust your reptiles' food with powders, calcium powders and vitamin powders, as far as like lizards and bearded dragon. These are the two that I use. This is the calcium that I use to dust all the reptiles' food with, and this is the multivitamin. I use this once a week, and I try to use this one every day. And it's also very important to gut load the insects that you feed your animals. Even if you just buy the insects in the little cups like these, you still want to put some kind of gut load food in there for them. You can use like the same vegetables that you're feeding your bearded dragon, or you can use these. This is a high calcium cricket diet, and I use it for all of them because I noticed that all of the insects like it. And then I use this as well. This is something that I got when I very first got my bearded dragon, and she hates it, but I noticed that dubia roaches and crickets especially love it. So I always put some of that in there because it does have the vitamins in there. You can also use Flukers, the one that makes this They make little orange cubes that you can also throw in there, and it gives them their water, or you could just throw in, like I said, a vegetable. If you notice, Percy has a small water lid in her tank, and I use that to put calcium in. This is different than the other calcium. The other one has D3. This one's just pure calcium, because leopard geckos will actually eat calcium directly out of a dish if they feel like they're getting low. So I always just like to keep that in there just in case. As you can see, guys, I recently planted my aquarium. Never done this before, so it's probably all completely wrong, but trial and error. If they all die, I will get new plants. For my fish, I try to make sure to give them a variety, just like I do all the other animals, because I don't want to just feed them fish flakes every day. I feel like that's not the healthiest thing that you could do for them. So I have a variety of food that I feed them. I use these New Life Spectrum regular formula sinking pellets. I got these off Amazon. Actually, I got, I think, almost all of this food off Amazon. I use this Tetracolor Tropical Crisp. They like this a lot better, so I sprinkle a couple in there for them. I have these Cory wafers. I'll usually throw like 2 in there every other day because Cory's are bottom feeders. I throw 1 of these in there, again, every other day. And I noticed that a lot of the fish like this, not just the pleco and my algae eater. Most of the fish will chomp down on it. And then I feed them bloodworms. The rope fish absolutely loves bloodworms. Sometimes he'll actually hang out at the top of the tank and just wait to eat them. So he loves the bloodworms. The snakes are pretty easy as far as feeding goes. We feed them rats. But we do make sure to feed them the frozen thawed rats, because if you put live rats in with your snakes, ball pythons especially, they're so passive that a lot of times they'll just let the rat claw at them and bite them, and you don't want your snake to get hurt. And plus it just feels better to me to feed them rats that are already dead. So what I do is I take the rat and you just thaw it out. Usually I put it in a Ziploc bag and put it in warm water and just kind of let it slowly thaw out, and then we feed it to the snakes. Sterling started eating frozen thawed rats immediately because I actually got him from a kid who had already been feeding him frozen thawed. But Sylvanus came from a not the best breeder, and he was feeding her live rats as a small baby snake. So it took a few months for us to get her to want to eat frozen rats, and it was heartbreaking every time to see her eat live rats. But we finally got her there, and now she will destroy anything that's put in front of her. The corn snake was eating mice, but we found that every single time we would feed him, he would still be hungry, and it got to the point where we were having to feed him 2 mice. So the lady that we get our frozen, well, that we get all of our feeders from, she suggested to start feeding him baby rats, and ever since we started doing that, he eats 1 and he is satisfied. And then there's our new addition, Gregory. He's doing fantastic. If you see, he's swimming around a lot more than he was in those earlier clips, because I'm definitely filming this like 2 weeks after I started this video. His tank is doing great, and he's doing fantastic. I am feeding him these omega-1 beta buffet pellets. I tried to feed him bloodworms, but he refuses to eat them. I tried for a couple days, thinking maybe he just needed to get used to it, and he will not eat them. The plants in his tank are doing great. There's 2 ghost shrimp in his tank, just to kind of clean up where he's leaving old food behind. So they're in there. He kind of checked them out the first day I put them in there, and now he just kind of ignores them. Just to kind of talk about his tank briefly, Gregory's tank is 3.5 gallons. He has all real plants in there. He has a thermometer. The middle column is a filter that barely dribbles because betas aren't the best swimmers. And he has a heater and lights. I know a lot of people like to keep betas in bowls, and that's actually not good for them at all. They are tropical fish, and they like tropical temperatures, and just seeing them at the pet store in those little cups at room temperature and they're not really moving. And then if you get them home in an environment that they actually are supposed to be in, you'll see them like he's swimming around. Well, now he's eating, but he swims around and he's just much happier now. Almost forgot about the dogs. I feed the dogs the Diamond Naturals chicken or beef, whichever one Amazon has, because you guys know I get everything from Amazon. That's what they seem to enjoy the most. You can see that they have destroyed my backyard. As always, I am by no means claiming to be an expert. This is just what I do and what I feed my animals, but I hope it was helpful, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!